Tracy Hilliard has generated a 44.53% return in just 10 months as a beginner investor. How does she do it? In this video, Tracy reveals the exact investment strategy that took her from having very little knowledge to recently earning on average £3,300 per month. So stick around and learn the step-by-step blueprint Tracy used to achieve these incredible results so you can apply it in your own investing journey. Okay, we'll go into the detail and the step-by-step in just a moment, but how do you feel about your results?
I'm really proud actually, because early this year I decided that I wanted to fly to Australia. And so I worked out how much it would cost for me and my partner to fly business class. And everything we wanted to do there, you can probably tell by my Australian accent that I'm from Australia. And I try and go back every year, but with COVID I hadn't been back. And I had a goal to be there for six weeks, which is substantial over the summer period. And so I worked out how much it would cost with business class flights, accommodation, doing things with my family. And I came up with a figure. So in February this year, my goal was to actually achieve that figure. And so I did. And so I think when we went to Australia, it was almost like the icing on the cake, because I knew the money I'd made was actually being used for that. And I think that goal, the aspirational goal, because it was substantial, flights to Australia were expensive in themselves, was something that now I feel really proud about, because it was something that meant a lot to me and my family.
I love that you said that word proud, because normally people say, oh, I feel great, I feel really happy.
Proud.
Yeah.
Really proud. And I think, you know, with things like that, sometimes we don't stop and celebrate. And just so you know, I didn't take the money out. It was almost like a figurative money. I used other money, but that money's, so when I look at how much money I spent and how much money else to got in my whole portfolio, it's the same, if that makes sense. So I used my bank money, but because I want to keep compounding. I realise that's such an amazing thing. So,
now I'm really proud of you, because that's absolutely amazing that you had the clarity of mind to say, yeah, I'm going to leave it in there to continue compounding. Oh, fantastic, I love it.
But thank you for teaching me that, and I mean that. I think people hear about compounding, but until you actually really play with it, it doesn't make much sense, really.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, kind of, yeah, I get it. But when you see it in your account, you go, where did that extra 50 grand come from? It's literally magic, like Einstein says. It's amazing. So Tracy, before you found success with investing, what was your financial situation?
I had some money in an ISA. I had about 75,000 in an ISA. And I had some property that I'd invested in, and also some shares previously in an organisation I used to work with called Diageo. So I had some money, but I didn't have anything from a future perspective around how I could use it or plan it out. Okay,
so what were you looking to do? You were looking to grow it, get income, or?
Grow it, and I'm in my 50s now, and it may not look like that at the moment, but I'm in my 50s, and I really wanted to make sure that I was securing my retirement, that I didn't get to my retirement with no money. And I think even with that amount of money, there was a chance that I would go through that very quickly. So for me, it was about long-term growth. Initially, financially, I was fine. I actually had money coming in, so I could cover any day-to-day expenses. But for me, this was more long-term.
And why did you choose investing? Why did you choose trading and investing? Why?
About 10 years ago, I saw a program and I went on it, and I lasted about 2 months. And I always had in the back of my mind that I'd let myself down with that because I'd missed the opportunity. And so when I was looking on the internet for reputable companies, I did come across Investment Mastery, and I came across you, funnily enough. The lift scenario of buying and selling really stood in my mind about buying low, selling high, and I'd never thought of that concept. So historically in my ISAs, I'd just left the money and it'd gone up and down and I'd missed it. And so my value in my ISAs had stayed pretty much the same. So your whole terminology and simple thinking about it actually really made me stop and think about, is this a company that I would like to be a part of? And so I did some investigation on you.
Fantastic. The ISAs that you have, are they with somebody else that they invest, or do you invest them?
I invest them.
Okay.
So that's been the big change. Even prior to joining Investment Mastery, I actually used to invest myself anyway.
But it just kind of went sideways.
Yeah, like there was one that went up to over 100%, you know, potential opportunities, and then it went back down to the original price, and I didn't actually sell. I didn't know what to do.
You didn't know what to do.
I was like, this isn't fantastic. I was so excited, but then it was like, oh, it's back to the original price I bought it at. And I was like, what did I miss there?
Absolute classic. That's what everybody does. Because they don't have any strategies. So can you give us a quick overview of your total profits, also the strategies that you used, and how it feels to have achieved such incredible returns?
Since February this year, I've increased my portfolio by 44%. That also includes a 2-month holiday, and we can come onto that in a minute, but basically I stopped trading during that 2 months. So it's really 8 months worth that I made that amount of money.
Amazing. Love that. Absolutely fantastic. And what strategies did you use?
Value cost averaging, which is VCA, and contrarian momentum were the two major ones that I've used. I also have a number of cryptos, the larger cryptos and the smaller cryptos that I've also bought. They're slowly and steadily going up, particularly at the moment, and they're performing well, but I've actually taken less money out of that at this point in time, but I see over the next 12 months the opportunities growing within cryptos. So
you said VCA and contrarian momentum. Let's talk about the contrarian momentum strategy a little bit. Can you explain what it is and how you use it?
Yeah, sure. So I predominantly use cryptos with contrarian momentum, and really what I'm doing is buying when it's undervalued and selling when it's overvalued. It's the best way to explain it. And what I've been doing in my approach is using Ethereum and Bitcoin as the major two, and that's where I was making quite substantial money. So usually I would go in 2/3 times. I was probably more aggressive. I know sometimes people go in 5 times, but for me, I'd probably go on the more aggressive side rather than the other side. And so in a lot of cases, I entered in twice. Sometimes I only entered in once, and I made my money back really quickly. And I think originally, Marcus, I started with like £100. It wasn't like I started with big money, because I realised that if I didn't get it right, £100 is still a lot of money, but, to a certain extent, you're not losing as much. And then I eventually got to 1,000. So it was that whole gradual process that meant I made really good returns over a few months period to actually go towards my Australia trip.
So I love this. So because sometimes we say go on a demo account so you don't risk anything. But actually your approach of actually having some money in there, like 100, makes it so much more real.
Yep, definitely. I started on a demo, and it was really interesting. The psychology of changing to a real life, even with money, was quite substantially different, hey? Like you're almost going, I have to be careful here, and, you take it. And it took me a while to get through that. But as quickly as I could, I went to money, because I realised money is a thing that changes your mindset.
Amazing. For the contrarian momentum strategy, I know you said buy low, sell high, which is true. Yep. It is. Yep. But how?
Yep.
Do you use patterns, chart patterns? Do you use indicators? What do you use? And what time frame?
Sure. I was using an hour. I even went down to 15 minutes at one stage because I had a bit more time, but predominantly an hour I found was good. I'm looking at the relative strength index and making sure it goes below that to actually invest. And then when it goes above it, if it's 5%, I sell out. So that's the concept I'd been using, which is obviously below 30. And then when it goes up. Now, as we know, it can go up and go back down again, which is when you invest twice. And therefore you hold on until it goes up 5%. Then I was putting a stop loss, and then I was actually eventually selling. Okay,
so that's great. So you're letting your profits run.
Yep.
So as soon as it hits, what did you say, 5%?
Yep.
You then what?
Originally, I was putting my stop loss at below 4%, and then moving it up based on. Then I got more capable, and I started to put it under more the structured approach. So I could see patterns. I'd put it under the patterns. And what I mean by that is a number of candles accumulating before they go up again. Yeah. And I would put underneath that.
That allows it to really run, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. What's the most percentage you've ever gotten on that?
That was about 12%.
12% on your entire portfolio?
Yeah, on one trade. Sorry.
On one trade? Okay, and how many days did that take?
It took me about 3 days in that situation.
12% in 3 days?
Yeah. That is awesome. It was a very volatile part of the market at that point in time.
Love that. What's the most you've ever lost on that trade?
None, on contrarian momentum. I must admit, I'm in one at the moment that's been a while, which was...
What's a while?
4 months. It's Polkadot.
Yeah.
I went in when it was really high, and it's just continued to drop, and it's still in.
Yeah.
But I'm okay about that. Yeah. It may take over 6 months, but that's okay. That's learning for me.
It's almost like you've now swapped the contrarian momentum for the CCA.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I viewed it. So my average price is now a little bit maybe higher than what it was. But that's okay. I've just got more dot or polka dot, as we know. Yeah. So I don't feel I've lost anything, because I was just like, that's okay. We'll eventually come up. And at the moment, as we see in cryptos, is starting to do very well.
Very well indeed. Very exciting. Okay. What amount did you start out with when you began trying the strategy?
Which one, the CCA or?
Let's say the control momentum.
Originally, it was only $1,000 US dollars. Sorry,
Okay.
I said pound more, but dollars. And then eventually I worked up to $4,000.
So you made 3,000, or you kept putting money in?
I kept putting money in.
See, that's interesting as well, is what most people don't understand is about keep adding.
Yeah.
Do you do that on a monthly basis, or?
No, I don't do as regularly as monthly. I keep forcing myself to look at how much money I've got in banks or other situations and saying, how do I put money over, which I've done every about 3 or 4 months, where I really look at my whole portfolio, my whole financial situation and say, what else can I put over? So I'm not saying I'm regular in how much that is. Sometimes it could be 4,000, sometimes it could be 8,000, sometimes it might be 1,000. So, but I'm constantly looking at what I can put back in, because I actually realise the benefit of doing that.
Absolutely. Most people would not even think about doing that.
No, but it's funny because crypto's been a real revolution, because that's how I came into IM, if I'm honest with you. I didn't know anything about cryptos and I was intrigued. As I said, I'm getting a little bit older now, and I think when you're older, you want to keep using your brain. And so for me, cryptos was something I had no knowledge of, so I thought I'm going to learn about it, which is what made me originally start with you.
Awesome. So let's turn to stocks then. So what strategy do you mainly use with stocks?
Value cost averaging, VCA.
The VCA. Okay. And how much did you... Oh, well, can you quickly explain the strategy?
Yeah. So what we're basically looking at is an increase and then a drop. So an increase by 20% and then a drop by 20, 30, 40, 50, and I continue to go in. And it's quite a mind game, that, isn't it? Because why would you go in when it's dropping? But to me, that's the real art of this. And I'm increasing how much I'm putting in each time, which also therefore decreases my value or sorry, my average cost. So when it then goes up, I then tend to usually sell, depends upon how far it's gone up.
And do you just throw it into anything, like a dartboard?
No. Investment Mastery has helped me look at what are the right places to invest. But now I've got to the stage that I've been in the club for a while that I'm able to choose them myself. And so that's been the shift a little bit.
You'll have to think by yourself.
No,
What's going on? Okay, so what have you done? Have you started changing the recipe?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Nice.
So I've in all the ingredients that you've given me, I'm now playing with them slightly differently. So let me just give you an example. Originally, we were recommended to go in at 20, 30%. I'm now waiting till 30% and putting in higher amounts. And at 50%, I'm putting in a high amount as well. So I'm actually waiting for it to drop a lot more. I'm also looking at volatility, which is a new part of it as well. So they're more volatile stocks. So an example of that would be Coinbase. It's quite a volatile stock. So I'm looking for a minimum of 3% volatility within usually the month. And the third part that's different is I'm looking for a minimum of 25% return. So I've used everything that I've learned and now creating it. And at the moment, I've done 10, I've back tested, and I've got 4 that are live at the moment.
So this is really interesting. So you've done, basically what we say is don't change the recipe. No. Don't change the recipe. You've waited how long to change it?
18 months.
18 months, you've gotten results that you're happy with, and now you've kind of put a little bit of, you know, we always say a little bit more butter instead of margarine, yes. Some nuts you've put in, a little bit of amaretto. Yes. And I see you've made 3 kind of major changes on there, which actually make a lot of sense to me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always when you're doing it by yourself, you never know whether it's logical or not. But I haven't put money into that, real money into that yet. I feel it's right to test it a bit longer before I give over my real hard money.
So are you going to test it on a demo, or are you going to test it with a small amount of money?
I'm testing it on a demo by using TradingView at the moment and saying, okay, if I put it in here, what would it mean? And there's a great testing tool now on TradingView, which I'd never seen before. Amazing. Until Dennis showed me a few months ago, and I love that because you can back test using that as well. In about another 1 to 2 months, because I want to just give enough time to test it, I will put real money in, even if it's a small amount, to see how it goes. Because I think actually, as I said before, the psychology of having money is very different than if you're just doing a demo.
I like that also you have changed, because we say, you know, you're looking for this strategy 15 to 20%, depending on how aggressive you are. And you've gone to 25%, but you can do that.
Yes.
Because you're going in at a much lower point.
Exactly.
And most people don't realize that the more, that's so interesting. It's the maths on that is amazing.
Yeah.
Eh? So if something drops by 50%, to go back to where it was, it's 100% gain.
Yes.
People are like, no,
Yes.
it's dropped 50, so it's 50. No, it's 100.
Yes.
Something goes from 10 to 5, that's 50%. But if it goes from 5 to 10, suddenly you've made 100. It's like that's true.
Yeah.
Wow. So it makes absolute sense what you've done.
Thank you.
Love that. Well, let us know how that
I will
goes.
do. Yeah, I'm looking forward
Because
to
obviously
it.
that's something that we can teach them as
Yeah.
well. That'll be amazing.
Thank you.
I love that. Okay. Okay. So, how much money did you start with VCA? Can you remember?
Yeah, it was about 75,000.
So that's where you put most of your money in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that where you've made the most increases? Would you say?
Yeah, at the moment, I've put in. Well, fun enough with cryptos, I've put in originally about £35,000, and I've just set up a pension where I can put in more money.
Is that like your own, a SIP, a self-invested?
No, it's called a SAS.
Oh, so as a
it's-
business owner, you can
Yeah.
own a SAS, and you can do cryptos in
I'm
that as
doing
well.
that. And so I moved, I can only do at the moment, they put a limit on it, 15%. So I've moved 15% over, and I bought coins about 2 weeks ago, which again, I'm really proud of, because I'm leaving them for the long term, but I'm using the strategy you taught me again. And it's really an interesting way, because I think a lot of people don't realise you can do it through some form of pension. So that's how I've set that up. And so, yeah, it's through my business.
Yeah, so you can either do it through a SIP or a SAS, but the SAS is through the business. So that's really
And
clever.
cryptos.
Yeah, and you can do cryptos in that, whereas you can't do it in a
Exactly.
SIP. And you might even make more money in that small 15% than you will in all the others put together. So it's good asset allocation as well. So that's what you've done the most. That's where you've made the most money, I'm assuming.
At the moment, but I think I got into cryptos at the right time. I know for a lot of people, they bought really high and it's come down a lot. I feel I got it at the right time. For instance, I've just started taking some money out of cryptos where I've made percentages on things like Solana. I sold, feathered out, not sold, some of Ethereum over the last few months. So I'm actually now starting to sell small percentages of my, based on the strategy.
But you're keeping it in.
Yeah.
You're not taking it out.
No, and I reinvest that money,
Which
right?
is how to compound.
In different coins, right?
Yeah.
So I've sold 10% of my coins in Ethereum, 10% of my coins in Solana. Those are the two major ones I've sold. So Bitcoin's really close to my 50%. So, and I use that money to reinvest in other coins is the way I've been doing it. So,
like listening to you now, right? So you're feathering in, feathering out. Yeah, I've taken a bit of Solana. I'm reinvesting to compound my money. I've also opened a SAS in order. Would you have thought, like a year to year and a half ago, that you would be where you are now?
No, not at all. Not at all. I would never have thought. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at goal setting, but I don't think you can really envisage that you're going to get there. And I think sometimes when you get there, you forget that you've got there. Does that make sense? Like, I am proud, but I sometimes forget to look back and go how far I've come. And until you've asked the question, I'm sitting here thinking, actually, I have learnt a lot. I know a lot now, but I'd forgotten.
When you first started, did you think, oh yeah, I can do this? This is easy.
No.
What did you think?
I thought, why have I done this? I remember, I think I said to you, I joined cryptos first, and it was February, and I was working from home a bit, and I was working with clients, etc., but it was still a bit COVID-y time, so it was a bit of a difficult time. And I remember going to a coffee shop to listen to some of the recordings on the cryptos, and I had my headphones in, and I was trying to open up accounts in this coffee shop. And every time I tried to put money across, it would just bounce back or something wouldn't work. And I was like, flipping heck, I remember getting my laptop and throwing it outside the shop because I was so frustrated. This should be easy. I usually find things easy. Why is this so hard? I'm so confused. Why did I ever start this? Lots of self-doubt, about whether this was going to really work.
Did you think about quitting?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. But I then went back into why is this important to me? And that changed.
Jeremy, because most people quit.
Yeah, probably, but...
in everything they do.
And I have too in the past.
So what's changed? The why?
The why, yeah. The why. For me, look, I can't say I haven't been successful. I've done pretty well in corporate lives. I've done pretty well in my own organisation. and I've had money, right? So I can't say I haven't. But I think one of the things that's really stopped me is thinking about what I want to do next and how I want to help people and the difference I want to make in my family's life. And looking back at the way my parents were, and they did their best. But every time I go back into my why, it really motivates me to keep going even if I don't want to get on the calls even if I don't feel like it, to ask for help even if I don't feel like it, because that's something I haven't been successful at in my past. I tended to try and do it all myself.
And these are all really simple things to do, aren't they? Yeah. Ask for help, come on the calls.
Yeah. People want to help you. And they get joy helping you, and that's what's ironic about it, is that sometimes I think I was too proud to ask for help. Like, I should know this.
Do you know, it's really interesting you should say that. Okay, hold that thought about pride, because most people think the reason they don't do something is because they don't have the time or they don't have the money or whatever their thing is. But do you know what the real reason is? It's arrogance.
Yeah.
You call it pride. They actually believe that they can learn how to drive a car by themselves. Totally. Well, not safely you can't, not knowing all the rules. And it's the same with trading and investing. It's actually arrogance that people really think. Because, they either have a business or they have a good job, so they go, I'm smart, I'll work it out. Yeah, if you've got 5 years and you don't mind losing a load of money in the meantime, why would you do that?
No. And it was really interesting about Gold Fast Track for me, because usually when I hear things like that, I'm like, no, I can do it myself. And I stopped and I thought, you haven't done this by yourself, so why wouldn't you accept help? Sure, it costs money, but to me, that's anything that it's worthwhile costs money in many ways. And I just thought, you always walk away from these situations and you don't take the offer and then you regret it. And so I signed up. But it was the best decision. Honestly, it's made a big difference to me. I wouldn't be as far as I had if I hadn't been for the team and for other people in the community as well.
That's great to hear. Really, really happy for you. What about, you mentioned goals just now, the importance of setting goals and keeping with it until, because a lot of people, they're like, goals, etc. Tell us about that process. How did you work on getting your mindset right from the start?
I worked a lot on my why. For me, I've been again fortunate that I could do some things that are probably more pleasure. Like I have done some amazing things in my life, gone to some amazing places. I've lived over the world, so I have experienced a lot of pleasure. But I think one of the really transformation for me was going back into the pain for a bit longer. And sometimes when I don't want to do something that I know is good for me, particularly when it comes to trading and investing, I go back into that pain just to spur myself on again. And that's made the big difference, because I don't think I'd really tapped into that opportunity as much. It's probably always been in me, but it was something like creating really my big why quite early on.
It's definitely always been inside of you, of course, absolutely.
But I think now, when I don't feel like doing it, I go back to that, if that makes sense. So it's almost like it spurs me on even more. And if I hadn't have worked on that, I don't think I would have made the profits that I had, because I also don't think I believed I deserved it. And that's been the big shift in my head, is I deserve it now. And in my why, no disrespect to you, I say if Marcus can do it, I can do it. And that's not because anyone can do it. It's a bit like if someone says, if Tracy can do it, I can do it. I think anyone can do this.
Yeah.
It's not complex, but it just requires you to keep going every day. That's what I've learned.
You just gave me an example, but are there any other kind of emotional ups and downs that you had, especially early on?
Yeah.
And how did you handle those?
Yeah, sometimes I had to walk away, because I'm someone that wants to get it right there and then. And I had a strategy, for instance, when I was at the coffee shop, where I thought, okay, I'm going to shut up my laptop and I'm going to go home and I'm just going to leave it for a few hours. So that was a really important strategy for me. I think the biggest one, coming back to the whole element of getting help, was actually asking for help. I joined a lot of the Q&As and the webinars and asked questions, and I think that was a difference for me. I tended to usually sit there and try and solve it myself. So
why? Why did you ask questions? Why?
Because I really respected that someone knew the answer better than me at that point in time. And I still do believe that. I think the capability of the team is a lot higher than me, and I still can learn a lot.
And so many learnings there. Do you know, I really like this strategy. I know this is just a simple strategy. The fact that you went to a coffee shop, I realize you threw your thing out, but just why be at home going, oh, now I need to look at this online course, when you just go, how can I make this really nice? Okay, I'm going to go to a nice coffee shop, get a nice coffee, put it in there. That is really good. Why do you think that ongoing learning is so important for keeping the right mindset as an investor?
Yeah, so I've been in the club about 18 months now, and we had the first crypto, is it not called Crypto Basic? I always get the name wrong, but you know,
Crypto Mastery?
Crypto Mastery, not the advanced one. I've done that, I think, 5 times now. I've crewed at least 2 or 3 times. And this weekend, I joined again. Not as a crew, I just decided that I would like to be part of it again. And you know, the mindset stuff reminded me again about you just got to constantly work at it. And I learned a lot. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you see something, you just keep going back to it and you learn something new each time because you're ready for it. That's how I always used to look at learning.
So fascinating, because most people, I believe, they think that they go on it once and then I either get it or I don't. But they don't think this consciously, by the way, but they're like, oh, well, I don't get it and that's it.
Yeah.
This is like, well, why don't you just come back?
Yeah.
You don't pay any more. Just come back.
No.
Just repeat it.
No.
And, well, I've already done it. Yeah, I know, but it's like having a meal and you're not full.
Yeah.
What, so just eat some more?
Yeah, exactly.
So funny. Gosh, it's all mindset, isn't it?
It is. And there was a few things that were said that I hadn't heard before. I heard it differently. That's why I think it's amazing about going back and learning, is you learn something new each time, don't you? It's not about, and sometimes reinforcing what you already know. And
Sure.
when someone asks a question, you go, I could answer that, maybe I'd answer it differently. Or sometimes there's a way someone answers it differently than you thought. I mean, there's so much.
And you want to make money even faster.
Yeah.
And you want to make more money.
Yeah.
So of course you would come on. So couple more questions. So one of them is, so you've also been compounding your money. You're making, I think it was around £3,300 a month.
Yes, exactly.
Which is great. And do you think that by compounding you're going to increase that, or you're just going to get to your goals faster, or both?
Yeah, to me, I always, when I started doing investing and trading, I said, this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So for me, I just want to continue to compound. Eventually I'll take some of the money out and do certain things with, but I don't see I need that at the moment. Probably when I'm more retirement level of that, I'd probably take some money out. But no, my goal is to just keep putting money in, keep compounding what I have, and then growing my pot.
Okay, Tracy, if you could share one top tip, okay, with our viewers who are just starting their investing journey, what would it be? Because we'd love, if you could give some inspiration for people watching, it would be amazing.
My recommendation or top tip would be to look at your why. I think once you get that really clear, it makes a substantial difference. For when things go well and not so well, you can keep going back into your why, and that helps you be motivated as you go through and really learn about trading and investing.
What is your why?
My why is basically my parents got divorced when I was 9 and my mum died when I was 13. And seeing my dad, who has or had mental illness, really get to the stage where he was in a nursing home and really struggling and having no choice and no freedom to do the things that he wanted at that stage. I don't want that in my life, and I want the ability to spend 6 months in the UK and 6 months in Australia with my family, because I want to create memories and joy with them. And so that's why I've been focusing on trading, investing, and learning what I have.
So that is so interesting, because what you said there, I mean, was amazing.
Thank you.
But somebody watching this might say, "Ooh, that sounds a little bit negative." Can you go into that a little bit more? The difference between like pain and pleasure?
For me, it's about having both. So I get motivated by my pain and my past and seeing what happened with my dad. And also now I'm motivated by the pleasure and the opportunities I can do with spending my money the way I wanted to, right? So I look at both.
And there was both?
There was both, yeah, there was both. So for me, the real pleasure of having the freedom with investing and trading and moving to Australia and spending time there and spending time with my family is the real pleasure. The pain to help me be motivated to do that also is about what I experienced growing up and seeing my father and my parents. So I use both. And that's been a thing that's really helped me continue on the journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real inspiration. Thank you so much.